Before we begin, these videos take me a ton of time and energy to create, and in order for me to continue at the rate I've been moving, I must ask a favor. Please visit subscribestar.com/RomanOva Music to become a patron for as little as $1 a month. That's comically cheap for this material, and it helps. You can also donate to the channel directly at RomanOvaMusic.com/donate. Alright, thanks very much, and let's get on to the video. So coming into the first verse, finally, and we get to hear James LaBrie with his wonderful interpretation of some Shakespearean influence, as we can say. I think Kevin Moore wrote these lyrics. I could be wrong, though. Anyway, doesn't matter. This is a guitar tutorial here, okay? I'm out here doing vocal analysis. You go to another channel for that. Anyway, let's get started with this this chord progression that happens in the verse. Now, everything is based on still an E pedal point, but we added some stacks in here, some stacks. So let's take a look at these stacks. Okay, so let's kind of go chord by chord and break down what's happening here. Now, the rhythm is sort of going along with that, right? So on the upbeats, you're hitting the da-das. Now, we're going on the downbeat, right? That's the rhythm. So, 1E and a 2E and a 3 and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3 and a 4E and a all 16th notes, okay? Now this first chord is a 5th stack, okay? So we're going 7 on the A, which is an E, 9 on the D string, and 11 on the G for what's called an add 9, we can call it, or like a power chord add 9. Right? You get that sound. Now we continue that up the scale. Now this next chord is incredibly dissonant. That's what it sounds like when you just play it by itself. Hey, if you want to get a good alarm clock sound, that'll be perfect, right? So we're going with the note F sharp, C, and G. 9th fret, 10th fret, 12th fret. Alright, so basically what's going on there is you have this, I would call it an inverted C with an added 11th onto it, right? So if you look at this upper structure, that's a C and a G, so that's 1 and 5. Now here, if we have the F sharp, that's the tritone, and then you just put an E on the bottom, right? So it's an inverted C chord with an F sharp added as the second note. Alright, now the next chord is an E sus4. Alright, so you're hitting 9th on the D, 9th on the G, and 10th on the B. Okay? Then we head to this. This is a true C power chord. C, G, C. And then we hit the tritone in between. So it is outlining that sharp 11th idea once again. The sharp 11 chord is very popular among prog rock bands, or even just more bands that enjoy exploring more complicated musical themes, right? Now the second time around, we sort of go with that earlier idea where we have to hit the F chord at the end, right? We have to go to the flat 2. So let's take a look. So we hit all the same chords, the E with the add 9, then the inverted C with the sharp 11, then E sus4, C. We're going with an F add 9, which is the first chord moved up a half step. Alright, so you have F, C, which is the 5th, and then G, which is a 9. So F add 9. And that's more dissonance happening on top of the E. If you play it on top of the E, it sounds like this. Actually, it doesn't sound too bad. So the next part is the pre-chorus section of the song. It's where we have our first kind of straightforward chord progression happening. With this we have two guitars. Okay, one of them is distorted and the other one is a clean arpeggiated type of section. Let's go over the distortion guitar first. So it starts off on an E5 to a C power chord, C sharp, G, B, E again, C, same thing twice, C sharp, G. So not too much to say about this technique-wise. However, when I hit the G, I notice sometimes I see JP, John Petrucci, hitting this open G voicing, where you have your middle finger on the 3rd fret of the low E string, and you're muting the A. Okay, so we're not getting that. Well, you don't want to get that harmonic, but you mute the A, and then you hit the open D string, open G, and the 3rd fret of the B. All at the same time, so you get a nice wide 5th, because you have a G, a D, which is a perfect 5th, then a G, and a D. You have a double 5th going on there. So let's take a look at what the clean guitar is doing now. So the clean guitar is doing something a little more interesting, right? So a lot of the intricacies come out in this part, even though it's not as loud in the mix as, say, the driving distortion guitar. So we have an E minor 9 shape, going to a C add 9 shape, right? Just doing a bar chord at the 3rd, so the 3rd fret of the A, B, and E with the 5th fret of the D and G. Then we shift that up a half step with that key change, right? That's a straight up C minor chord, and then we have this little, where we do a hammer on it and pull off in between with the, right, the 2 going to the 3, back to the 2 to the 1. And then we have a complete shift, where we have this G add 9 shape, okay, where you have stacked 5ths. Now you have to really get your thumb into this position behind the neck. You don't want your thumb to be like this, you know. Yeah, you know how you see a lot of those old guys when they're playing the folk guitar and they have their thumb all the way up here? We can't do that. We need to extend our thumb outward and into the middle of the neck, just like that, in order to get that stretch. All right, so you have yourself planted nice like that, and you have 3rd fret, 5th fret, 7th fret, and the open G. It's a G add 9. Okay, and then this is a B with an added 11th. So it's kind of like a sus4, but it includes the 3rd in there as well, because it lets it ring. Now I finger this like this: 2nd fret of the A, 4th fret of the D, and then open E, and 4th fret of the B for that D sharp. Now it doesn't stop there. The second part's even more complicated. So we start off with this, it's an E minor 9 shape, okay, but a full-blown one. So you have to have your pointer on the 7th fret, and then you have your ring finger on the 9th, pinky on the 11th of the G, and your middle on the 8th. All right, so this is a real stretchy kind of chord. This is going to take a little bit of practice for you if you've never played anything like this, okay? So we're going like this, starting with the open E, and then we're going up. Just like that. Okay? Next chord is a C add 9, sharp 11. Okay? Now, our pointer is going to bar the 8th fret. Yes, you have to bar the 8th fret while you're doing this. And we're doing that stacked 5ths. So 8th fret, 10th fret with the middle, 12th with the pinky. Then your ring goes on the 11th of the G, and your bar hits the B string on the 8th fret. Alright? And you just arpeggiate up like this. So really cool sound, right? Let me play the E to the C Then the rest of the chords just go exactly the same as they do the first time. C sharp, G add 9. So let me play that entire thing for you. You think we left the Kill 'Em All series behind? Of course not. We didn't leave the Kill 'Em All series behind. We never leave anything behind when we play guitar. Right? We play music, we play all this cool stuff, we can't forget it. It's just like math. You're going to forget how to do basic addition and subtraction just because you're learning multiplication? What are you, crazy? So let's take a look. This is kind of the James Hetfield portion of the program because it requires us to use all downstrokes. That's not going to go away. All downstrokes, right? And this section in particular is very difficult to perform, right? Your hand's going to be tired as hell by the time you're done with this. So let's check out this little transitional riff. Remember, all downstrokes. Not too much to say about that part. We start with this, just an open E5, right? Then to a D, but a little extra chunk because we're hitting the 5th fret on the E string as well, in addition to the 5 and the 7 on the A and the D. Alright, so that's a D, and then we're going like this, an A over C sharp, which is 4th and 7th, and then C, and for 2 measures. Then we go back, we hit E, and then we do a straight up F sharp power chord, right? Nice 2. Then a C sharp tritone to the C, F, and on to the next part. Alright, so I'm going to call this verse 2, just for the hell of it. So we start off with this little double chug, coming out of the last part, and to a G, and then this sort of, it's like a Peter Gunn type of riff. It's almost like, you know, real cool, like you're driving a speedboat, and it's like, but we're speeding it up a little bit. This you don't have to do all downstrokes. It starts off palm muted, then we go. Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit. So basically we're starting off with this double chug to a G, just like I said before, and then we're doing this alternate picky palm muted little E minor thing. Now what's going on here is we're hitting very specific notes with the E in between, right? So sort of like an 8th note kind of thing. And we're going for the F sharp, the G, the B flat, the A, the G, and then the F natural. Alright, so that F natural always has to come back, right? So it's almost as if they're still trying to re-invoke the introduction. Alright, so we have E, 2, which is F sharp, G, 3, the flat 5, the 4, the G, the minor 3rd, and the F. Alright? The ending is definitely the toughest part of this, so let's take a look at that. So we're doing this, let me play that slow real quick. Okay, so it's important to note where you palm mute and where you don't. All alternate picking for this as well. Alright, so you're going to have to practice your E minor scale here. Alright, so let's take a look now what we're going to do with this palm muting. So we're muting everything up until that point, and then not muting these three, and then muting the last two, which then goes into the next section. Now this part we're going to call Pre-Chorus 2 question mark, or Pre-Chorus 2 heavily permutated. Now the reason why I'm saying heavily permutated is because James LaBrie is singing the exact same vocal melody as the first time around. Alright, but this time the guitar and everybody else in the band is doing something completely different. Now here, it's also important to note where the palm mutes happen and where they don't happen. We're going to go over that real quick. But here's the, here's the riff at full speed. So we're going to stop it right there. It does go into another transitional point, but we're going to save that for the next section. So we start off with this sort of scalar type of thing. And we're going up the first four notes of the E minor scale, palm muted. And then we're going to do this. When we reach that second fret of the A, you're going to do that little trilly thing, but not palm muted. And then when you come back into it, you mute everything else. And this is sort of like a scale exercise almost, right? Thirds. Okay? And then we go up to the 3, 5, 7, which is like the G. And then we hit 5, 7, 9. That's like an A major chord. But this follows suit with that Dorian idea that I was talking about earlier with that C sharp. So they're just putting the C sharp in there. And then we have this. So that's like 7, 8, 10. It's almost like it's outlining a C chord in a way, right? Except for that B, but the B is kind of just like leading into that whole part. That sounds like a C chord to me. And then we're going. This is like a D chord, except you're starting with a C chord, right? So maybe it's like a Lydian idea because you have the C, the D, and the E, right? Which is the 1, 2, 3 in the C chord. And then you have that F sharp going up to the 6th, all right? So that's what I mean. Like that's a D chord, but on top of a C. That's the Lydian idea. Alright, and then we go into, that is a D chord right there, okay? Then we have, that's just straight up E minor right there. Nothing crazy. And then we come up here. That's adding the C sharp once again. So that's, that's definitely an E Dorian type of idea. And then we have, that's like a C major 7 if you take all those notes into account. G, A, B, that would be, right, 5, 6, 7. Then 1 to major 3rd, all right? Okay, so let's kind of describe what's going on during this next section. It's sort of like a transition part between the pre-choruses that actually matter. Now, the reason why I call them the pre-choruses that actually matter is because, well, after this part, it goes into the chorus. Wow, can you believe that? We're, geez, almost 4 minutes in. We didn't even hit a chorus yet. Jesus. All right, so let's take a look at what's going on here. Now, there's two guitar parts that happen. And I'm going to go over the less obvious part, so the lower rhythm guitar part. So that goes like this. Okay, so pretty much just kind of a fancy type of Phrygian chord progression. All power chords and that little riff at the end. Now, let's take a look at the chords that are actually happening here. So, we have this E going to an F. So right off the bat, that is a Phrygian type of sound, right? Because we're hitting the flat 2 explicitly this time. Now, whether or not the chord is major or minor with the E doesn't really matter because it's just a 5. It's meant to be ambiguous. However, this sort of reminds me of like the right, that sort of you know, stereotypical Spanish guitar type of thing. But that's sort of what's happening here. But it's left to ambiguity. So it's not clear whether it's a major third or a minor third, but it doesn't really matter because it's only hitting a 5th anyway, so there is no third. But let's check that out. So we have the 1 going to the flat 2. And then now we do another kind of Phrygian thing. That's B to C. So it's a half-step motion. Now you can see this as maybe 1 to flat 2, back to 1. I just call it a 5, a flat 6 to 5, because that's how it happens in the E minor scale anyway, right? Whereas the E and the F could be 5 to flat 6 in the key of A minor. A little food for thought. But coming out of the B, we have an A, which we can see this as a 4 chord within the E minor. The G, which is the 3 chord, hitting that C, which is the flat 6, and then this little lick here, right, just plucking the 9th fret of the D string, a little pull off back in, and then hitting that G string 7th fret back down. So let's take a quick moment to talk about the time signatures, the time changes that happen during that little transition part. Now, when we come up on the E, it starts off with a measure of 4. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, okay? And then we hit a measure of 7, 8 immediately following that. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we hit a measure of 6, 4 with these chords. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now to the more obvious part of this pre-chorus tag section. Goes like this. Let's take a look at the first part that happens here. So it's actually an octave higher than what the previous part was playing. With it ending on that 12th fret B string, which complements the low E that we were playing before. Okay? And then it continues to play this sort of Spanish Armada type of thing. And continuing on with that sort of, that Phrygian type of sound that I've been talking about this whole time. Phrygian indicates the flat 2. Now, let's take a look at how we're supposed to play this fast part. So we're going from the D string, 15th fret, just like that. 15, 17, 15, 14, and tremolo picking, right? These are basically 30-second notes that we're blasting through here. So that's our first set. And then we come back up that same set, okay? And then we go to 14, 16, and 17. Now these notes definitely play into the F chord. Okay? So with the A, that's the third of the F chord. The B is the sharp 4, which indicates a Lydian mode. Always remember that. And then that C is the 5th. So, and then we continue back down it. We go back up, continue up the scale, 15, 17, 18, and then once we're making our final ascent, right, we're going 15, 17, 18, 19, so we're hitting a chromatic note to hit up to the 15th fret of the E, which is a G, and then chromatically up 17, 18, 19 once again. So just remember that 17, 18, 19 is going to happen on both strings. So, and that's the thing, you have to really blast through these notes. The best way to get through said blasting is to tense up your forearm as if you're doing as if you really want to flex that muscle and impress all the ladies in the room, right? This isn't going to impress any ladies, but anyway, maybe it'll impress some nerdy prog dudes in the room. You know, your big forearms that can handle these fast licks, right? These fast licks. Alright guys, well that'll conclude the second part of Pull Me Under. Please stick around for the third part. It's going to have the guitar solo and all the juicy details after that. Please sign up for my Subscribe Star page and go to RomanOvaMusic.com. You can get my music and you can get everything that I've been working on, throughout my entire career basically, right on that website. You can also sign up for lessons. That's another thing too. I give guitar lessons. Please, anybody who's interested in taking some guitar lessons or piano or general music theory, don't be shy. I've been doing this for a long time. I know what I'm doing here. So please, don't feel hesitant to reach out to me. All right, have a good night.